What's up guys, welcome to the only manga recap channel that doesn't rely on AI voices. Today we're diving into a romance manga called Kofi wo Shizuka ni, so grab a seat, relax and enjoy this romance manga. Our story begins with Takaki, a high schooler rudely awakened by his annoying and bratty younger sister, Chiaki. She mocks him for oversleeping and urges him to get his act together. It's worth noting that his younger sister is taller than him. We then meet Takaki's older brother, Masa, who is in his 20s. Takaki and Masa are polar opposites. Masa is well groomed, tall and inspiring, while Takaki, despite being nearly 18, is short, disorganized, messy, and most importantly, inexperienced in love. As Takaki arrives in school, his best friend Matsuo greets him, confirming that Takaki is indeed a dwarf, as Matsuo is twice his size. In class, the teacher distributes a future goal survey, leaving Takaki dumbfounded. He has no idea what he wants to do in the future, but then he thinks of his older brother, who drinks coffee in the morning. This leads him to the brilliant conclusion, and I quote, "I want to become the kind of person who is suited to drinking coffee." Let's pause here and acknowledge the fact that Takaki might not be the sharpest tool in the shed. So Takaki then writes 3 things on his survey: adult, coffee and suit. Man, what the hell? This only reinforces the fact that he's completely clueless. When his friend checked Takaki's answers, he asks him if he wants to open a cafe and then mentions a local cafe called the Ghost Cafe. It's an old establishment and the ghost might be the deceased owner's wife. Curious about the story's validity, Takaki decides to investigate on it. Upon opening the door, he sees the silhouette of a woman, but she's no ghost, she's a gorgeous young woman in a kimono. She warmly greets him and invites him to sit wherever he likes. The coffee shop is quite beautiful with a cozy decor. Amazed by the atmosphere, Takaki chooses to sit at the table side and orders a coffee. The woman seems surprised by his seat choice. As he waits for his coffee, Takaki admires the barista's graceful movements. She's truly beautiful as she divinely grinds the coffee and prepares a traditional coffee. Takaki is genuinely amazed and can't help but blush profusely at the sight of her. I mean, he's not wrong, she is indeed stunning. When his coffee is ready, Takaki takes a sip and remarks, "It's bitter." "Well bro, it's black coffee, what do you expect?" As he's drinking, an elderly lady enters the shop and calls the owner by her name, Shizu. The 2 women talk and it seems that the older lady, named Tanaka-san, has known Shizu since she was younger. During the conversation, Tanaka-san mentions a certain Kengo-kun, piquing Takaki's curiosity as he eavesdrops. The lady then reveals that the spot Takaki chose to sit is the exact place where Kengo-kun confessed to Shizu. The next day, Takaki, who seems to have developed a crush on Shizu, returns to the coffee shop. To his surprise, it's closed, but the lights are on. Being the weirdo he is, Takaki then peeps through the windows and sees Shizu cleaning. Suddenly, Shizu-san starts trembling and appears to be crying. As Takaki's curiosity grows, he accidentally makes some noise and Shizu notices him. When she speaks, she unexpectedly bursts into tears. Shizu seems confused about why she's crying and apologizes to Takaki. As a first instinct, Takaki wants to offer her a handkerchief to wipe her tears, so he rummages through his bag. However, this is Takaki we're talking about, guys, and he pulls out, well, a band-aid. Shizu then promptly informs him that she's not injured, but Takaki doubles down, claiming that the band-aid can cure anything, even depression. Great, now I won't kill myself, I just need a fucking band-aid, right? Despite Takaki's silliness and clumsiness, his gesture of offering a band-aid is genuine, as he sincerely wants to help Shizu. She is honestly touched by his kindness and smiles warmly, her sobs subsiding. She thanks Takaki and offers him a coffee as a thank you. Once again, Takaki admires Shizu as she prepares the coffee, but this time, instead of simply admiring her, he reflects on himself. He realizes that although he's almost 18, he's still a kid who hasn't changed at all. The chapter ends with him tasting the coffee, noticing that the bitterness has changed, and knowing for sure that he wants to become a real adult. What's a real adult? At night, Takaki is determined to pursue Shizu and considers his monthly allowance to visit the shop. He concludes that he can go to the cafe 2 to 3 times a week. It's worth noting that he has trouble sleeping because he can't stop thinking about Shizu. The following morning, his sister Chiaki wakes up and continues to mock him. As always, his older brother Masa is ready on time and leaves for work. Chiaki notices that Masa's shoes are shining and tells their mother that he might be dating someone. At school, Tadaki wonders who Masa might be dating, fantasizing about his future sister-in-law. He truly is a man-child, thinking of female tropes present in mangas. After school, he heads to the cafe, where Shizu greets him. He orders a black coffee, and once again, Shizu is absolutely gorgeous as she prepares the drink. Tataki decides to study and starts preparing his notes, truly focusing this time, right? Just kidding, he overhears a customer talking and gets distracted, but plot twist, the voice is actually familiar. It's his older brother Masa. Takaki realizes that actually Masa might be his romantic rival and imagines how if Masa marries Shizu, she would become his sister-in-law. He then concludes that he has no chance against his brothers. Yeah, fair enough. Let's not hear that Takaki didn't study for a single second and just kept making scenarios in his head. He's brought back to reality when Shizu leaves the cafe in a hurry to catch up with a customer who forgot an item. Masa, being the Chad he is, rushes to help Shizu and tells Takaki to watch the shop. The two of them return and Masa successfully returns the object to the client. Realizing how powerless he would be against his brother, Takaki finally decides to study. Good job, bro. After some time, he finishes and realizes that he lost his wallet or that he didn't simply bring it with him.
Oh my god, bro.
I think we should keep account of all Takaki's mistakes so far. Right now, existing is one. Anyways, his first reaction is to hand his phone to Shizu, telling her to keep it until he comes back with the money to pay, only for her to inform him that Masa, his child of a brother, already paid for both of them when he left. Feeling utterly obliterated by shame, Takaki apologizes and takes into consideration everything that happened that day. He realizes that he wants to be a respectable adult, one like his brother, who would be fitting to order cream soda. Shizu is surprised but smiles warmly to him and tells him sure. Takaki then runs away in shame, deeply embarrassed by how uncool and autistic he sounded. The next day, our man Takaki returns to the cafe and sees a weird young woman with glasses kneeling suspiciously. He asks her if she's alright, and it turns out she's not a creepy groomer but a cute girl spacing out. She tells him that before entering a cafe, she likes to imagine the inside. In other words, that girl is actually quite weird, but she goes on how about special a cafe can be. Takaki then ponders Shizu's actual name. Could it be Shizuko, Shizune, or Shizuki? He also thinks about the Kengo person mentioned in the first chapter. As he spaces out, he is brought back to Earth by the girl who was kneeling before. Her name is Makise. As they greet each other properly, they're interrupted by a slightly older woman in morning clothes asking if she can come in, and the three of them finally enter the cafe. The woman asks for the owner and Shizu is surprised, telling her that currently it's her. She opens up saying that the previous owner had an accident 8 years ago and was forced to retire. Makise sits next to Takaki and they overhear the conversation between the blonde lady and Shizu. Shizu asks if she had brought cups to the shop years ago to the previous owner, and the woman confirms it. She brings out the cups and to her surprise, they're still there and in perfect condition. We learn more about why she left the cups there. The woman had a man she loved years ago, whom she met in a cafe and received these cups as a present, right in the seat he's actually currently sitting at. However, that person passed away, and every time she saw the cups, she couldn't help but think of her late husband. So she asked the previous owner to hold on to them for her. The reason she's there is that it's the anniversary of her husband's death. She then asks Shizu if she could make coffee in those cups, and Shizu kindly accepts. The lady asks if she is Shizuka, revealing her real name, and mentions that the old owner talked a lot about her. We then have a flashback of the old owner talking about how Shizu is like a daughter to him. Then back in the present, the chapter ends with Takaki admiring Shizu and noticing that while she smiles, there's also a deep sadness within her eyes. A few days pass and Takaki visits the cafe every chance he gets. However, he's terrible at making small talk, and each time he tries to get closer to Shizu, they only exchange greetings, leaving Takaki frustrated. He then decides to go to a bookstore to find books about coffee. There he bumps into the old lady from the first chapter. Takaki asks her about Kengo, and she shares more information. The old lady reveals that Shizu was a part-timer at the cafe years ago, and Kengo was a client. They attended the same high school, and the old lady walked in on Kengo confessing to Shizu. She noticed that Shizu looked saddened and confused by the confession, admitting that she didn't understand the feeling of liking someone. In the afternoon, Takaki is even more confused but still goes to the cafe. Shizu notices that he looks a bit startled and offers him free coffee and a treat she made herself. She also hands him a band-aid, expressing her gratitude for the time he gave her when she was crying. The two spend a small moment together, and Takaki is beat red as always, being deeply in love with Shizu. At this point, I totally understand his feelings. When he gets home, Takaki ponders his feelings for Shizu as he struggles to fall asleep. The next morning, he wakes up half asleep, indicating a rough night. This chapter takes place shortly before Masa's birthday, and Takaki decides to get him a new present. He goes to a mall and settles on a coffee cup as a gift. As he browses the items, he notices a familiar silhouette. Yep, you guessed it, it's Shizu. It turns out she came to get a new cup to replace a broken one. Shizu expresses her uncertainty in life, struggling to find a new cup. And as they talk, Takaki realizes how sad and unsure Shizu is about herself. They finally settle on the cup at a shop, and as they are about to head back to the cafe, it starts raining. Shizu then admits that she hates the rain, and to distract her, Takaki joins her at a nearby cafe for a drink. There he insists on how he'd like to try Shizu's own blends, which surprises her, and she seems genuinely happy with Takaki's proposal. The day ends with each of them going their separate ways, but in a way, they have grown closer. And that's all for this part 1 of this manga recap. Please note that this manga is a slow burner, so if you want to keep seeing more recaps of this specific manga, then feel free to tell me in the comment section, or just like and subscribe and stuff. As always, the links are in the description if you want to read it yourself. The recap covers up to chapter 8, so you'll be fine after that. There's 27, 30 chapters right now. So yeah, thanks for watching and see you. Bye.